Hello and welcome to another episode of The Modern Nerd. I am Sir Slice,
And I am merchandise.
and we are, as always, missing George. He's gone. Um, yeah, we're massive nerds as usual, and as you can tell, this is just Smirch and I. I almost called you Slice because that would have been fun for everybody. And we're getting these out as we can. Everybody works, everybody travels, so me and you have to settle for me and Dan. And then within the next week or two, we'll have a phase 4 review, hopefully coming for you guys. But right now, we have Wakanda Forever. I feel bad. I don't know that I can do that. Am I allowed to do that? I think my with this
Oh,
lighting, I'm
interesting.
I'm too white, too
Hmm.
shiny to do that. Um, Wakanda Forever is going
Hmm.
to be the review that we're doing here today. So if you haven't seen the movie, go watch it, and then watch this because this is going to be a full spoiler review, as
Full
always.
spoilers.
Um, and if you do go, bring tissues. For sure. So we'll give everybody the 5-second pose so they can go pause it or okay, and we're back, and we're going to be doing the review of Wakanda Forever. So I saw this opening weekend. I believe Dan, you saw it within the last 2 or 3 days, correct? Of recording, at least. Why don't you go? It's fresher for you. I have to. What you say will trigger memories. So
Gotcha. Okay. So Wakanda Forever. Right into it. Gotta address the biggest elephant they've yet to address in the room. The first full-on loss of one of their leading men, one of their leading people, I should say, and in Chadwick Boseman, and it was it was really sad. It's even sadder when the ties from his character to real life, how he did indeed die from a disease, in cancer in real world's case the uh, in the Marvel universe. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if they even said. Not sure if it will
I
be
think they
said.
said it was like an unknown disease,
Okay.
something random is what
Um,
I think.
I first and foremost feel it was treated with the utmost respect from the director and the universe as a whole. There was no. Um, I kept I kept bracing myself to see an animated version of the departed Chadwick
Hmm.
Boseman, and uh, I am I was relieved yet still sad that they didn't do it. It was weird. I would have never wanted it, but then I didn't get it, and I was like, wow. I was kind of ready to see him and really, shed some tears. But they didn't do that, but ultimately, I'm glad.
Yep,
Um, it
agreed.
felt weird when they had to reanimate Carrie Fisher for the third Star Wars movie. I had very mixed feelings about that, and they did this in a classy
Is
way.
that really
And
reanimated? I thought we'll talk about that later. But
it was, I'm pretty sure. But anyway, regardless, then you're hit with the Marvel logo of all Chadwick, and not I not a dry eye in the house. I'm sure. Um, Mine certainly weren't.
no,
I put off seeing this movie for that reason alone. I just wasn't ready to see a Black Panther movie without Chadwick Boseman. He freaking, I it's a nice reminder of reminding to appreciate what you have, not just in these movies but in life. And I question how much I appreciated him in his movie when I was alive and his character. But boy, do I appreciate him now. Um, I it was, and that for me, unfortunately, though they addressed it and they moved forward, and I appreciated that, it never truly felt to me that this movie was complete, was a whole. Like there was grieving in this movie, and I think that may have been on purpose, and I respect that.
Yeah,
I guess just all that to say, it just sucked. I miss him. I missed him in this movie,
sure.
and especially experiencing an additional loss later on in this movie, which I suspect was the original plan. But regardless,
Yeah, yeah.
this movie apparently, according to articles, was already going to be about dealing with loss. In this case, it would have been the loss of time, and rebuilding relationships for the ones who had stuck around in that time period and the ones who had been blipped. Even though we never really got an I don't really feel like it was really addressed who was around in that time and who was blipped, which I would have appreciated, because I have no idea who was and who wasn't. Maybe it was just best to move forward regardless. I don't.
They had a really short moment between Okoye and Nakia,
Okay, so
and
who was
it
around
didn't.
and who wasn't?
I remember them talking about it, but I don't remember the specifics. You know,
Um,
I
I,
know
I
that's.
I think what we
We
could
know
gather is that
Okoye was around.
okay, so it seemed like Okoye. I would deduce that Nakia was also around, because she had been rebuilding her life, and making this school. Um, I it was a yeah. It never. It's no secret that I've been harsh on this phase of Marvel. This movie rounding out the end of Phase 4, if I'm correct.
Correct,
Um,
correct.
I I came into this, I don't want to say with a chip in my shoulder, but with my arms kind of folded, ready for a just, kind of trying to ready myself for the kind of quality of Marvel movie we've come to expect in the last couple of years. And I maybe that was a disservice to myself. I don't know. But it's hard to not only get back into these movies after feeling like they aren't up to snuff these days, and with the addition of the loss of the original Black Panther, King T'Challa, it was rough. I don't know. I think I had a hard time getting into this movie. That being said, I still think this was probably their strongest outing, for sure this year. I possibly total. I think that's up for debate. I don't know. I think this is on par with Shang-Chi, which I think up till now has been okay, not I don't know. Do we count Spider-Man? I guess we
I
do.
mean, we
Yeah.
do.
We count Spider-Man. Okay, so then it is tied with second place then, with Shang-Chi, in my opinion, in terms of movies so far. I think I prevented myself from enjoying it a little too much, just through whatever reason. I wanted to. Um, it was hard, it's hard to, this has never really happened in the MCU before, and I think it's a challenge to. Plus there was a little bit of like, um of salty feelings towards the actress who plays Shuri, just because I know that she was holding up production,
A couple times.
yeah, because of it, she just did COVID shenanigans, and that kind of
And
pulled me
she got
away as
hurt
well. Yeah, well,
because
that's
that
whatever
happens.
that happens.
Her fault.
But I think I had trouble immersing myself. Um, that's my more or less overview.
Yeah.
What were you feeling about it, Tim?
Um, I mean, I loved the movie. If we're going just, I'll touch on Chadwick and all that in a minute, but movie alone, I thought it was very good. And I think the movie handled grief extremely well. I was real jaded, as you were saying, with God, what's her name? The woman who plays
Letitia
Shuri,
Wright, is that her name?
Letitia Wright. Yeah,
Letitia Wright.
and so I was a little whatever, but I kind of like let that go going into it. So I was like, I just got to watch this as a movie, just a movie, So I let that go going into it, and I was able to enjoy it a little bit more. And I didn't think I would feel as much for her as I did, but that goes to show the writing, and you're compiling grief on top of grief, and it makes it insanely hard to not care for somebody and their emotional process. So the introduction of um Namor was fantastic. I loved him in this role. I think it was perfect. There's so many ways you could have done this, and this just fits so well with the lore and the mythos of what they're doing in Marvel in the MCU. So that worked out real well. Um, yeah, I mean, going into it right off the bat, you've got like the scene of Shuri like frantically trying to find a cure for this thing, and then finding out that T'Challa has passed, and then time goes on, and you're introduced to this like will do anything to like protect his people Namor, and you see that he will do anything later when he, spoilers, kills T'Challa's mom and Shuri's mom in an attack on Wakanda, and like that really drives it home. And before that, I believe, was it before that? I think, yeah, where they were like, Shuri is taken captive, goes along with, but is also taken captive after they're looking for Riri Williams. And you're introduced to Talokan, which is their version of Atlantis, which I'm glad they differentiated it between the DCU. I'm like, that's fine. I don't need it to say Atlantis. It was Atlantis in the comics. I don't care that it's not. I think it was a cool choice to make it all very Mayan of descent, and his history and backstory, and how he was a mutant and everything. They say the word mutant, like that was awesome. It's good to see Ross back in there, the agent Ross.
For like,
um
10 minutes.
right. Riri Williams, what was fantastic. Got to represent Chicago. Anyone from Chicago, and I'm all for. I think she was great. I mean, it was, again, all of these characters that they're adding in. I'm saying it on a scale. I'm not saying like she was better than everyone in the movie. They're just tacking in America Chavez. They're tacking on Riri Williams. They're just introducing all these characters. So
Well,
you're not getting full on character for
I
them.
would
Like,
disagree. They were tacked on
not
America
tacked on, but
Chavez.
like if you watch both these movies, obviously this one is not going to be focused on Riri Williams, but like, Doctor Strange, like she didn't really have a ton of, she was a plot device in Doctor Strange, and so was
Mm,
Riri Williams in this, was a plot device. It didn't so much
no.
go to introduce them as a person. You don't get to know them very much. You don't get to know anything about where they came from too much. Like it's very minimal background for
I,
these two smaller, younger characters. So for what I
Riri
for
Williams didn't need to be in this movie. Let's be clear about that. Like she didn't. There was no reason for her to be in this movie, and not
that's what
not that I'm complaining.
that's what I'm
They
saying.
gotta, it was very shoehorned, very clear.
Yeah, she
Like
was tacked
look at
on.
look at the clipboard. We gotta introduce her before the show
it
comes
it
out.
it, it
Like let's put
works
her in
like
this one.
it you got to have a story, and I think the pivot around Chadwick Boseman allowed this to kind of come to fruition.
Maybe
It's fine. It's not like, am I
it,
going to
it
lose sleep over her being in the movie? You know what I'm saying? It was like, for who she was in the movie, I think she did well with
Oh
the
no, I think
material.
she's
That's what I
great,
mean.
and I
Yeah, that's what I'm
think the
saying.
character is established, and
Yeah,
that's fine.
she'll be back. She's got
But
her
yeah,
own show coming up in
right.
next year, so I'm
That's
excited for that.
that's gonna be fun.
The fun part for me was I can't say her name, Fontaine, Julia Louis Dreyfus.
Sure,
That was just, she's fantastic in
she's really good.
everything. So and this just was like, okay, they're just gonna pepper her in there
Mm,
and kind of bring her on. She's going to be in Thunderbolts in a year or two. She's going to pop up here and there. She was already in these other shows and the end of movies. So I'm excited to see what they're doing with that, because she's kind of the master manipulator behind
hmm
everything, behind all of the next two phases, is my guess. So just kind of peppering her in, but not making her the focus, was good, because if you made
Yeah,
too much around her being evil, it was good. I thought that was excellent.
no, and the reveal that she was married
Yeah,
to like wow,
Yeah, that was
Uh,
cool.
cool. All right, that's
Um,
a spicy meatball.
my only kind of downsides for this movie was some of the plot. There was a couple of moments that didn't really
Most of the
hit for
plot.
it, which was fine.
Why
I
are they
I
sending
like
just them to go get her? Why are they fighting them out in the ocean? Why are they?
that.
It's
The early parts, I'm fine. Like you're establishing the characters first act. You're sending a small squad to go collect Riri. Fine, 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 fine.
mm,
The main plot plan, the big battle where it's like, I've got this idea, let's fight them on a ship in the ocean, and you're like,
yeah,
wait,
like
but you're
that's a
describing that
stupid.
they get their power from the ocean, so you're gonna go to the okay, and
I
like I
get that.
expected
Like,
that
how do
ship to
you?
like take off, and it's just like,
Right. Right.
and I'm like, what are you doing?
How it's like how that's a fair question. How would you get them to fight? How would you bait them to fight them on land? Which is fair. Still, that's a question that needed
Yeah,
addressing
I,
at
I
least.
I like the
Uh,
way they did that fight scene between her, between Shuri and Namor. I liked the implications of it and everything,
mm,
and the storytelling. The wrestling fan in me enjoyed that fight scene because they drew on some emotional stuff in there,
mm.
and it was a turn. It again, a lot of these emotional turns, heel to face, face to heel, are all in Marvel. At least in this one, it just felt kind of
Oh, the end was
realization moment, and
very
you're like, all right,
like really like there should have been
that aside, did
more
I zip this
empathy
up?
leading
That's
into that.
hilarious.
There should have
Hold
been
on.
more empathy leading into that final decision of her just saying like, oh yeah, let's just have a truce now all of a sudden.
Yeah, I agree.
It didn't feel that inorganic because it was clear they both cared about their people and their future, and we as an audience had felt like it was a natural like kind of like leading to this
Yeah.
conclusion
Well,
kind
it
of
has
thing.
to.
But right, but it still needed more I don't know, whatever data
I
to
think
lead to that decision.
I think it would
uh
have been better if they didn't leave it as an alliance,
right.
and like they didn't kill each other, but it kind of was more of like all right, like a stalemate.
A ceasefire or something,
Yeah, but
like
this was a
yeah,
little,
I agree.
but other than that, like that's fine. Like really, again, we're coming out of phase 4 where it's like all of the movies have this, like
Right.
every one of them other than Spider-Man probably, and Shang-Chi I think did a pretty good job of not doing that, but like Strange was the same thing, Thor Love and Thunder was the same thing,
Yeah.
Black Widow was the same
I
thing. Like they're
I
all just like, oh, they felt bad for each other. Yeah, but
right.
like you gotta show that to me, not just here's a clip show of remorse moments that they've had. Like build the character. But anyway, look,
Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
breaking it down too far. I really did. I enjoyed the movie. Is it better than phase 3 or 2 movies? Probably not.
No.
But is it one of the best in this phase? For sure, hands down.
Mhm.
There's really no question about that at all.
It's funny. I think it actually, some maybe some movie sins or typical Marvel shenanigans. Maybe I'm jaded on it. I don't even know when they're doing it anymore, but it feels like they weren't too bad about the typical like just like no giant like CGI something at the end. There were it was at least a departure from some typical Marvel things, and I
There's
appreciated
still a
that. There's
CGI.
still
Half of
there's
those extras weren't on that ship,
there always is going to be,
and that's fine. That's
but
fine.
I one of my main feelings about this is in my opinion, remarkably well done and newly defined Namor, the Submariner. I he okay, talk about a character that is as old as the Marvel comics themselves almost. And it was much like the Riddler in the last year's Batman movie, much need of an update, and boy, did they give him a good one. This was
I agree
everything.
with you, but not about the Riddler.
You don't wait. I thought you did agree with me about the Riddler.
He was good in the movie, but I think we'll talk about that one later.
Oh, interesting. I look forward to hearing
Let's
about that.
they basically took Hush, which, spoilers, he is the Riddler, and did that, but didn't do the Hush storyline. And I'm like,
Hush. Oh,
yeah.
oh.
So anyway,
Sorry, I
that's a
just
whole
saw Hush the movie, which has nothing to do with that.
the animated
Interesting.
movie.
No, the live
Oh
action movie wears a mask, creeps on a lady who's deaf. Anyway,
yeah, no,
it's
that's
you probably this is not for everyone. Anyway, um, that is interesting. So they close the door for Hush basically in that Batman universe is what you're saying.
yeah, yeah,
Okay,
hands
interesting,
down.
interesting. Okay, anyway, regardless, I this
Namor
was
though was good.
much needed update for now who formerly known as Namor is now Namor, which was yes, please.
It is Namor.
Everything about this is was well done from the culture to the underwater city to just him just everything about him I loved. I loved inherently you describe a man with winged feet and you're like what
Yeah, I have
but
little
you
wings
see
on my feet.
yeah it's like what but you see him in action you're just like okay
It did
like
look a little goofy when he just is floating there. Like that will
for a
always
second it
look
doesn't make
goofy
of course it doesn't make any sense from a
when he's running.
yeah
It's
from
fucking
a like
badass.
a proportion stance but I don't really care because seeing how he moved in
It's
the
awesome.
sky was awesome
Yeah,
really great to see just a great update in the character give him some culture have him be a badass but still have empathy for him it was one of probably
I
I
didn't
think
really have empathy for him that much
why not
because his the ends don't justify the means.
hmm.
I don't they did not for me. I understand what he's doing. They did that in the last Black Panther movie, was the exact same subplot as this, except it was reversed, where Michael B. Jordan, was trying to bring him out into the world where, it's like, look, we want to say it didn't make sense. The reason it worked in the Black Panther was because they did eventually show themselves to the world and are trying to help and do stuff with it. Whereas Namor is, I mean, you have this crazy ability and technology and different way of doing things, and all he's caring about is safety instead of sharing. So I didn't
Well
feel as much
I
for
think
that aspect
once you
of it.
learn about his story, I think
Sure.
that when you see that, like it literally dates back to the conquistadors, and how terrible, terrible they were to the people there. I think he is doing what I mean, because and then you take in the fact that he doesn't really interact with the world. It's kind of like you almost got a little bit of a Themyscira type mentality where it's like I've seen what man does. Why would I
You're not
even
wrong.
stick my neck out for a moment? I'm not going to give them an inch. I'm going to make sure my people are safe. And his safety was threatened, and he did what he felt he had to do. Granted, we are seeing it from the whole kind of like a big picture thing, so to us it seems kind of out of line, but I think I it's more I think also I will admit that I loved him and I
Yeah, he
think he
was
was badass,
phenomenal.
and so it was hard to not root for him a little bit as well. And plus it seems like he is not going to remain a villain
He
if I
can't. I mean,
yeah that's not who he is in the
but
comics, so
he walks the line though.
okay.
He's him
Well,
and Doom walk the same line on either side. They really, really do. Like Doom
wait,
is
Doom
this.
does?
Yeah, Doom, right? Because he leads Latveria, in
Okay.
the country of
Protecting your
Latveria,
land
not the
kind of thing
city.
again.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
The difference is Doom is going for power and everything, whereas Namor still is gonna be, stay the fuck out of my land, or I
Yeah.
will mess you the hell up. But he's not gonna. In the comics, he didn't. Well, he did a couple times, but he's not
Okay.
as well known for trying to invade and seize power as so much as it is to prevent people from coming to him. So
Yeah.
they're very close on the scale. If you're like
Okay.
good and bad, and they're somewhere right here in the middle, and it's they did a great job with him as an actor portraying that. Again, it comes down to that ending wasn't as believable, where it's like, oh
Yeah.
yeah, she had the chance but she didn't, and I'm like, yeah, but you've been a dick the whole time, and you got a little bit of mercy and suddenly you change your entire political point of
Right.
views and how you see the world. Like,
Right.
that's
We needed more
nothing
to lead up
against
to
the
that.
actor or the character,
No.
it's just the writing.
Right. We needed more to lead
Yeah.
up to that moment. We needed more to help that moment feel like it was important and it carried weight. I think we all knew that that's more or less where it was headed, but yeah, we needed more.
Yeah.
It's that's all. That being said, I am very much looking forward to whenever Namor shows up again in
Yeah.
anything.
Which
I
he
think
will.
he's a joy to watch on screen from an acting and an action standpoint. And I think he'll provide a kind of a unique not perspective from a character standpoint and moving forward with whatever they have to face. And I look forward to him having him on the good side and seeing what he's capable of. It is hard when you have all these stabbing weapons and you got PG-13 movies and there's not a lot of stabbing happening, but
They stabbed the living shit out of Shuri, though. Like,
yeah. And
stabbed the
oh, by the
fuck out of
way,
her.
just shook that off. Like, what was that about? I don't know what that
I
was.
don't. It's whatever at
But
this point. They're superheroes.
yeah, sure.
Well, I mean, she
But
does have that serum in her, so
yeah, but so it's comparable to like the super soldier serum. You still
yeah,
get stabbed. You're still kind of fucked up. Like, I guess that's whatever.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'm letting that go and go.
Suspension of
Yeah,
disbelief.
whatever. Yeah, it's like, but it was in a movie where he had just basically dealt with the death of two very major characters. That was a cheap shot.
Can I
Like,
also say that it's like, hey, let's bring this guy into a flying ship, tell him what I'm going to do to him to weaken him, and not expect him to try and break the machine that's killing
yeah,
him? What the fuck kind of
reverse.
plan is that? It was stupid.
Usually it's the antagonist that's caught monologuing, and this time it was the
Yeah, but
protagonist.
well, but at the moment she was very much walking the line. So in the moment she was
Oh, because
seeking
she's gonna kill
revenge
him.
instead of,
Yeah,
yeah. So it
still.
was, look, it was, I really enjoyed this movie. I'll see it again when it comes back out on, streaming and everything. I will definitely watch it and everything. So if you want to know more, we will, because we could go on this forever. We will be discussing this again on our next podcast in the very beginning of the next one when George is around with us, GJC327, and we'll get his opinion and we'll chime in a couple more times as well, because this discussion is not over. There's so much to dig in, but in fairness, we're trying to not keep these. We're trying to keep these under half an hour, and we're probably past that. So, if you've enjoyed your time with us here today, we have been the Modern Nerd, and thank you for watching.